Welcome everybody to the Farmington Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. Start with item number 1, pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you everybody for that. Moving on to item number 2 is to hold a public hearing and follow application for a marijuana business permit licensing. And since the applicant is me, I'll be turning it over to Steve Bunker for this one line item.
This is to hold a public hearing on the following application for marijuana business permit and or license. Applicant Matthew Smith, 21 MJ02, medical marijuana cultivation, Tier 1 outdoor, located at 116 Partridge Road, map U22002. We have the application on hand here, and this is an opportunity for the public to comment or ask questions of the applicant or us. There are no questions or comments of the applicant. Here, Richard?
No question or comment, just wanted to take a second to clarify a little bit. The application is pretty straightforward. I thought folks might like to know that the plan is to have 30 CBD plants grown outside. The plants will be used in Mr. Smith's kitchen and will be for retail sale. So it's pretty basic.
If there are no public comments, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for comments or questions. Please.
Just out of curiosity, I was looking at the marijuana cultivation, Tier 1 cultivation up to 30 mature plants. Is it $5 per plant or just $5 total?
$5 per plant.
Okay.
Yep.
I just was curious. I didn't see how. I wanted to make sure I was right in my mind.
Yep.
Other questions from the board? Matt, I'll ask you, where are we on application fees and permit charges, etc.?
I'm all paid up in full, and provided that I'm approved tonight, I'll be in tomorrow to finish up the application, and I'll be paid in full for the year.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Any other questions from board members? If, please.
I make a motion, we approve this application for Matt Smith.
I'll second that.
Move and second for approval of said application. Any other comments? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Bunker?
Yes.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
I think about that a minute, didn't you?
Mr. Smith abstains.
Yeah. everyone again.
Abstain, oh, I should have asked, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would declare the application approved, and I will turn the gavel back over to Mr. Smith.
Thank you for that. Moving along, item number 3 is to review proposed amendments to the Town of Farmington adult use and medical marijuana stores, cultivation facilities, manufacturing facilities, and testing facilities ordinance. Richard?
This is a result of the discussion we've had at the prior meeting about how to ensure that people are paying their fees for these licenses and permits. And in some cases, these fees are quite substantial. And we've had some that have been outstanding for a while. So Steve Kaiser has drafted what you have in front of you. It's an appendage to page 15 of the existing ordinance. So it starts 3/4 of the way near the top of the page there, section 11-14.13 license permit fee payments. And it references a promissory agreement that the applicant must sign that ensures that they actually pay the fees. And I've also attached a sample of the payment agreement, the promissory agreement that the applicant needs to sign. And the crux of it is that if they fail to make the above payment within 30 days, that the permit's revoked by the board, and that's an automatic. revocation, and then the applicant must immediately cease business operations. And so that allows their license slot to be put back into rotation, I believe.
It does, because I believe it reads, they'll go back to the end of the line if they don't get back in.
So I think it's a fairly substantial method of ensuring payment. And of course, this would have to go for town meeting approval, and later on in the meeting tonight, I'll be recommending a special town meeting in May to deal with this and a few other items that we will have.
So,
I'm glad to see at least says 30 days to kick on that, but what is so just take for a liquor license from the state, how long does a person have to pay that fee before?
For a liquor license?
Yeah. You have to
Uh,
pay it immediately to get it?
I don't know, because we never have to deal with that from the state, and they always pay, because the town's fee is considerably less. They pay for the advertising of the hearing, and we require them to pay before it comes to the board for hearing.
Right,
That's
I mean,
not an issue.
I guess I'm okay with the 30 days, but I think if you're going into this, that you gotta know before it lands before us on the public hearing to, that final approval night, that you know how much money you're gonna have to fork over, so it's a little disappointing to see some of
They,
the people that haven't paid their fees.
they would know that because
Right.
the application states what the
Right.
fee is, and this promissory note would be, or the agreement, they would have to sign the agreement at the time they're taking up the license, so they would know then how much is owed and when.
Right, so I mean, is it necessary to give them 30 days? Because coming up to this public hearing, I mean, they've already been working on it for, I would assume, months. So it seemed to me it would be, why not just make it mandatory that before they can receive the license, they have to pay the fee?
I think what giving them that little bit of leeway allows, let's say the instance that they come before the board and it's not approved for whatever reason. So then if they had already paid, we'd have to go through the process of rebating it.
Well, no, once it's approved by the board, then they write a check and then they receive their license. But if they don't pay, like instead of giving the license and then revoking it, they don't get the license unless they pay within 30 days. Is when I
That's
get
kind
the
of, yeah, that's kind of how this is.
Well, it
Right,
says
they
it
can't-
revokes it by the board if they haven't paid it. So see, we're issuing them the permit, they can operate for 30 days, and then if they don't pay, we revoke the permit.
But it's suspended. Yeah. If it's not paid on time, they suspend the license.
That's what you did with the last one. They had to pay.
It was for an existing license that wasn't paid, the renewal wasn't paid on
That's
time, I
right,
believe,
yeah.
is
So
where
it's
this whole thing came from.
suspended.
Right.
Yeah.
and it won't actually, just because we issue it, until they pay, it won't be active.
Right, exactly. It's a sort of a conditional approval.
Yep.
Good.
Matt,
Just-
after our last, Joel, then, Joe.
No, I'm fine. Yes.
After our last meeting, and it was a slightly different discussion because they were asking to change the permittee's license, but the question of amounts due came up on that, and it was a considerable one, and we granted a leniency of 30 days on that one, which the party made good on it. And I don't want to mention any names tonight because I don't know and I don't care by person, but is there a process by which we should notify any current other delinquent persons and give them the same 30-day notice? I mean, who else are there other parties on the list who are delinquent?
I believe there is one that is delinquent, but of course, we can't do anything until this gets approved. We don't have, as you found out at the last meeting, we don't have a method in place until this amendment gets approved, unfortunately.
So barring that, we have no utilities to deal with delinquent parties?
No, I guess, what you could do is just not issue a license.
And when they do come in for renewal, that's when we'll have them sign. I'm assuming everybody will sign a contract at that point.
Yeah, I think-
Even the older licenses, and we might not be able to do anything for the readers, but we can certainly, if they don't come in and if they're not paid up in full, then
Yeah, I
we'll end up
think
suspending their licenses anyways.
this has more of a utility for renewals maybe than one coming in new.
And I should know this, but what's our period for renewals? Is it annual?
Yes.
Yes.
It is annual.
Yep.
Okay.
Josh?
I understand that we need to have some some form of paperwork making these people say, okay, you're gonna pay by a certain time, but it's just like anything in any business, you don't get a license till you pay for it. So
True.
I think that's a critical element, is you don't get the license from the state till you've actually paid for it. So
Right.
I think that it should be very clear to that, yeah, we know how much it is, and it's not picking on any one group, but that's just the way it is
Mhm.
across the board business. I mean, you didn't get your logging license till you paid for it.
True.
So, it's just like,
Yeah, I
you don't get
really
your liquor
don't,
license till you pay for it.
I don't think it's been much of a problem except when it comes to renewals.
Right, so. But this will, at least this will give us an avenue to go after, but.
It's a start. I mean, it's a First Amendment. I think this, like we talked last time, I think this is gonna be a moving thing every so often. This will be something we have to revisit as the industry changes, evolves, does whatever it's gonna do. And a lot of that will depend on the state.
That's right.
I mean, they've been in the news the last 2 or 3 days with the medical marijuana program. They're really trying to hammer on that. And so I think within a couple of years, it's probably gonna be a moot point anyways. I think there's gonna be one policy. It's not gonna be recreational or medicinal. It's gonna be one policy.
That's right, yep.
With any hope anyways. I know, talking to some of the store owners, it'd make their life a lot easier. It really would. So,
Yeah, I think it's moving in that direction for everything I hear.
yeah, no, and a lot of it's just for accountability. That's make sure they're getting paid what they need to be getting paid.
Well,
So,
this gives me the type of language I was looking for from the last time, so I appreciate staff support on bringing that one up to us.
I guess I gotta say kind of the very same thing. We found ourselves with an inadequacy. We challenged Steve to amend it and come up with some wording, and he did. And I looked at this 3 or 4 different ways, and I'm very satisfied with it. I think we've addressed that weakness, and it should plug that gap that we had. So I'm pleased with this.
I've got one last question
Yeah.
on this one. As it relates, should the town choose to add a different number on permitted numbers, or one becomes vacant, is it the understanding of our board or the town that it's a first come, first served by the date of someone expressing interest?
That's how it's been treated.
Yes.
Almost, yes. We did initially, in the ordinance, had some preference to local people, but there was a case in Portland that proved that we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a violation of free enterprise.
yeah, it was an out-of-state entity that come in and sued.
Yeah, it became a lawsuit.
Yeah. So,
That's all I have, thank you.
all right, so, just,
So we'll proceed to a special town meeting with this then?
yep, everybody need to vote on that, or you all set with everything?
Be good to have it on record as.
I'll so move to add the proposed amendment to our ordinance for special town meeting, Richard?
Pardon?
For special town meeting?
Yes.
For special town meeting.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second to accept the town of Farmington adult use of medical marijuana stores, cultivation facilities, manufacturing facilities, and testing facility ordinances changes. Any other questions or comments? Do you 3 ladies come for this, or for? Nope, okay then. We're ready for a roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bunker?
Okay?
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Randy?
Yes.
All right, unanimous on that one, thank you for that. Moving along to item number 4. to approve an order pertaining to the placement of the questions on the secret ballot referendum to be held on Monday, April 26, 2021. Richard?
This item and the next three, I guess, are going to be procedural items. It's a requirement that the municipal officers file this order with the town clerk. Generally, it's 60 days prior to the referendum, but for the governor's executive order number 56, that's been shortened to 30 days. So this gets filed with the clerk, and what I've done, rather than include all the questions, she has the ballot. This is the specimen ballot that we've received, and I'll just give this to her, and she'll file it with a copy of the questions. So it just needs your signatures.
Do we need a motion to accept these?
Yeah, to get an approval.
I would make a motion to accept these four, item 4, 5, 6.
Oh, well, let's deal with them individually.
Oh,
If
okay.
you don't mind.
Item 4.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve an order pertaining to the placement of questions on the secret ballot referendum to be held Monday, April 26, 2021. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Isn't Article 1 kind of a moot point? To choose a moderator to preside at said meeting?
We're required, we
still have to.
yeah, we still have to do that. We checked it and
Okay.
at the stage and everything.
All right, answer that then.
Yeah. All the moderator does, open the polls, I guess.
Oh, all right.
Good. We're ready for a roll call?
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg? Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
All right, unanimous on that. Thank you for that.
For your signatures?
And moving on, to item number 5, to approve a municipal officer's notice of public hearing on secret ballot referendum. Richard?
Oh, I think I gave the wrong one. It doesn't matter because you're gonna.
Sign them all
Yep,
anyway.
you can sign them all anyway. That one's for the public hearing. That will get posted.
Yep.
And this one is for the other order. So once that one gets approved, we can sign both.
I'll so move to approve the notice of public hearing.
Second.
Go ahead.
Been a motion and a second to approve notice of public hearing on a secret ballot referendum. I'm ready for a roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
All right, unanimous on that. Thank you for that.
Okay, and that's the other one. They look so similar.
Yeah. Thanks, I believe that.
So your motion to put a box up here, I approve 1 through 42 didn't fly.
Well, I'm going to have one
We'll
more
move on to
chance.
item number 6, to approve the warrant form and return for the secret ballot referendum to be held on Monday, April 26, 2021.
And this is what's gonna get posted, either this or the specimen ballot will get posted with the referendum questions, and it resembles the ballot, the specimen ballot. No place on the specimen ballot for the signatures, so we do this and it gets posted.
I make a motion, we approve the warrant form secret ballot referendum.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve the warrant form and return for the secret ballot referendum to be held on Monday, April 26, 2021. Questions, comments? Seeing none, ready for a roll call?
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yay.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
All right, thank you for that.
And that's gonna require your signatures.
It's not touching this time. We'll move on to item number 7, to approve the warrant for inclusion in the 2020 annual town report. Certainly for that.
So
This-
moved. Oh, do we have to discuss it?
Well, I was just gonna explain that this is the warrant as it will appear in the town report, and as it's in the town report, we're able to include a little more information with it than we can on the actual ballot, and it has the things like the amount that were approved last year and the recommendations of the budget committee, statements of fact on some of these articles, very similar to what is usually in the town report. And that will be printed in the town report.
All right. Been a motion and a second to approve the warrant for inclusion in the 2020 annual town report. Any more questions or comments? Seeing none? Andy?
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bunker?
Okay,
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yay.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
Thank you for that. And moving along to item number 8, to consider the recommendations of the Downtown TIP Advisory Committee. Richard.
The Downtown TIP Advisory Committee met on March 10th, and they came out with 2 recommendations. One of them is pretty simple, and I think that's probably what these ladies are here for. And I did provide you with a copy of the request, and it is, well, I don't seem to have the actual request, but I know you have it, and it is for, request for $2,500 to support the downtown, Farmington Downtown Association wants to hire a media specialist. And the $2,500 appears to be well, it is an allowed use under the, in the downtown district. I don't know why I don't have that in front of me, but, so,
it's part of, you gave us all the minutes, Ricky, so we got that.
yeah, I gave you the minutes, but there was an actual, an email request too that I don't seem to have for some reason.
I never,
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah, this is it. It's from Patty Hagan, the president of the Downtown Association, if you have that in front of you. They're requesting $2,500 for the creation and implementation of a new paid position of a part-time contracted digital marketing assistant. And this person would assist with the marketing the downtown through the website and keeping the website up to date. The application, which was taken from the town's TIP policy, calls for the partial funding of the creation of this position and maintaining the downtown website and social media presence while promoting the Farmington downtown area. It's a part-time contracted position with an average of 3 hours per week at an average of $30 per hour. So the annual budget is $5,000 to $5,500, and the request is to fund half of that from the TIP reserve account in the amount of $2,500.
Yeah, do you guys like to add anything to that, or?
What we are wanting to do with that, like they said in the application and everything, Matt, no. Okay, what we're wanting to do with it is to take the monies and to promote our downtown. We are struggling with maintaining the website and keeping it up to date, bringing the factors into that. Wicked Gelato has been gone for several years and Mixed Up has been there. You see what I'm saying? So that kind of stuff, and so bringing everything current to where the information is there, and then anything special that is happening in our downtown area to promote it on a social aspect. As you all know, we are all business owners and everything. Some of us are media savvy, some of us are not, and hence the reason why of wanting to hire someone as a part-time position to help with this aspect.
How do you currently update? I mean, obviously, it doesn't sound like it's being updated, but.
It's currently, it's not really being maintained. I think a lot of it is because people are involved in their own businesses and everything, so it's really hard to connect up with who is actually going to be doing it, and that's where the fall in lies. There is no designated person per se to maintain it. It's almost like we all put our own information in, and then sometimes it's lost, sometimes it's not posted, you know, that kind of stuff. So hiring somebody who would be in a responsible position for this would be recommendable. I think it would go a long ways in promoting the downtown. I think that we would be able to get more businesses involved in the association if we could make more of a positive presence than what is actually happening right now.
It's just stale.
It is stale, like Diane says. And as being downtown, I've been downtown for 17 years now. I love it downtown. I think we have a fantastic downtown. But it needs to pull together and work together better, and it would be great with a person to take on this aspect of it to promote, but also to create the excitement of, okay, we are interested in posting what you have. And as a personal business owner, I don't have the time to do that. You see what I'm saying?
I can understand that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I know you can, Matt. So it's the whole aspect of all of us being involved in it, but somebody taking that and doing the actual work for
Right.
it.
Yep. And I would agree with you that I think we have a great downtown. I truly do.
I do.
But
Also, if there's events going on downtown, that will help that too.
Sure, that would make sense.
And that if people get used to going to see, look at it, see what's going on.
The website is one thing, but you need like Facebook and Instagram now for more current.
Right.
The website's just kind of stationary.
Yep, that makes sense.
And not everything can be ran through the chamber, you know, because the chamber has its own agenda for the
Absolutely.
area. It's not, I mean, it is for downtown, but it's not designated.
Exclusively for downtown.
For
It's for the whole
downtown.
community. Right.
So in that aspect, I think that it needs to, here again, we need to have somebody who is designated for it. And that's not saying that none of us are, you know, working against it. What it means is that it needs to have somebody.
Yep, can appreciate that.
And the chamber does a great job for our area and everything, but here again, we need somebody representing us as downtown.
Okay, good. Josh?
I'm not opposed to the idea at all. I think it's a good idea. Just a couple questions I had. What do you generate in association dues yearly?
Josh, there's a lot of people who aren't in the association.
Yeah.
So if we were to say that downtown, that everybody in the downtown area participated in the association and paid their dues, well, you multiply each one of the businesses by 80%, by $80.
Okay.
Okay?
So-
But we do not have that.
No.
And that's for a single person working. Now, if you have staff, then there is a little more, there's more of a fee added into that. And so,
We don't have those figures for you.
Yeah, you.
but I don't have the exact figures. I do know that we supposedly have a membership of at least 80.
Okay.
But do they all participate? Do they all come in? Some of them are stale. So, you know, here again, the figures are not up to date on that one.
So I guess just my question, and just out of curiosity, are you gonna have enough revenue to pay this person?
We do have the revenue
Okay.
already. It has been
Alright.
designated for it.
All right, I'm just curious,
Yep, that's
obviously
fine.
then, you know, you come back next year and be like, well.
No.
Our membership's dropped off and we're only have, you know,
Well, we're
$500
hoping
in
to
the
do
bank.
a
so-
membership push, Josh,
Yeah.
which, when you do that, this would all combine in the same thing.
Okay,
You know, so here again, it's that positive presence that we would like to present.
yeah, all right, so, and then who's the person gonna answer to?
Right now, Patty
So
Hagan,
or this person will answer to the president of the
yes,
association, okay? Just-
hired by the association, but runs through Patty.
Yep. So with your presence, you want to obviously try to get the downtown itself as an organization to be more attractive. So other than you're gonna put yourself out on Facebook and Instagram and whatever have you. So if you're from away, are you guys gonna try to pursue so that a visitor coming into the area isn't gonna know to even look for Farmington Downtown Association? I think.
That's part of their job.
Yeah.
Okay, so Richard, is there a link on the town's website for the Downtown Association?
I believe there is, yeah.
Okay.
There's a walking map that was done several years ago that needs to be updated as well. Digitally, that's something probably this marketing assistant could do.
Right, so that's something they're gonna pursue.
That
to
is,
try to
we actually
get
talked about
viewership.
that at the last meeting, Josh, was the fact of having the walking map updated and everything, because like you said, Richard, it is out of date.
Well, I just meant like, so say you traveled near the area and you're, like, you punch into your phone, like, things to do, so things to do in Farmington, that's what I'm just, the link so that they actually get to the
The links
Downtown
of that should
Association.
show up through the chamber, through the town office, and through the presence. I mean, they can type in Town of Farmington and they can pull it up. You know, but have the links that we already have there
Okay,
with the town and the chamber is a big thing.
yeah,
And then if we're all promoting ourselves, we can have a link ourselves. Like I could put on Pins and
Yeah.
Needles website, I could have a link to
Yeah.
what is going on. And that, but it's a lot of us do not have the tech savvy of how to do that. So this is a part of the position that this person would be helping to do, is maybe bring us dinosaurs into the age. How does that sound? Okay.
I don't know how to do it either, so it's all right. I just know,
Little
I just,
dinosaur,
you
you don't
know,
feel bad.
my wife handles all our social media.
All you- yeah.
I know the lines, so she handles everything in that. our
Yeah,
website
so there's
and all that.
usually one person who goes really good at it, and the rest kind of trot along behind.
Yeah.
But this is what we were looking at, is having this person also maybe take a session and say, okay, here's how we can promote it through your website, this is what you need to
Yeah,
do.
alright.
And we're hoping that if it's refreshed, that it will cause more people to join, because a lot of people think that it doesn't do anything anymore. So we're trying to modernize it and make it more valuable.
Which would create more revenue because of the interest through businesses,
Right.
through the association having more members to share the load.
Mhm. I'm just gonna say, it sounds like it's a well thought out plan.
No,
So
absolutely.
That's why I just had a few questions, so I'd be, I
Just
think this is good collaboration, so I'd make the motion for approval to go down this path.
Second that.
Been a motion and a second to do recommendations of the Downtown Tip Advisory Committee.
Just one, there's.
For the, oh, yeah, for the, to hire I guess, a media assistant. My only question is, you're requesting 2,500, and you're expecting the position to cost between 5,000 and 5,500 a year. Where's the rest of that money? Just out of curiosity.
They got it.
They do, okay. It would
Well,
come-
we have it
everything would-
now,
It would
yeah.
be solely funded through that, okay. that was my
Yes, so
only
it'll
question.
be funded through the association.
All right.
It's been a while since I've been to one of the meetings, but it seems to me like they generally have a budget every year between $6,000 and $8,000 in their treasury, and most of that is spoken for because of the events that are put on and Christmas decorations and all that sort of thing. So they run a really tight ship.
Yep.
There's not a lot of leeway there, so I can see where this would help.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and applying for the maximum of what we could do with the tips, so that helps with that.
All right, any more questions or comments? Other than that, I agree, I think this is a good idea. Anything we can do to promote the town, businesses in the town, I think it's awesome.
Thank
So,
you, Matt,
very
I
much so.
appreciate that.
But with no more questions, ready for a vote?
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yay.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item.
Well, there is a second part to this,
Oh, that's-
another recommendation, and this one is a little more involved. And so the discussion that was had at the meeting was whether to apply some TIF funding to the proposal to install decorative street lighting on High Street as part of the project that is coming up this summer to rehab High Street. And you should have in front of you an estimate from Dirigo Engineering. The total estimate for the project is $184,870. The TIF committee looked at the area that is in the TIF district itself, as we talked about, and that is the area that extends from Broadway to Academy Street, essentially. And on the other side, there are some gaps, but it does continue a little farther down. Actually, I don't have that map section in front of me, but the outcome of the discussion was that there were two parts to it. The committee wanted to spend or recommended using from the TIF district essentially $51,500 to put in light pole bases and conductors, and it would also include the control panel for now, and also to extend the TIF district down both sides of High Street to Lake Avenue. The only problem with that is that it's quite a process in order to amend the TIF district, and it has to go to special town meeting, of course, and it has to be approved by the state DECD. You have to have essentially a legal assistance in drafting it. So, and it has to be done, in order to have the funds available, it would have had to been done by March 1st of this year, because the funding is based on the April 1 date for commitment. What I discovered, though, in researching our TIF plan is that those areas that are not, these funds don't have to be spent in the TIF district if they meet certain requirements. And those are, well, I'll read some highlighted from our downtown development plan. TIF revenues may be used for allowable costs within the district as well as outside the district. And one of the requirements is, one of the allowable expenses is extension of public infrastructure outside the district necessitated by the future growth and expansion in the district. And these include necessary sidewalk or other infrastructure extensions outside the TIF district but into other areas of the downtown. These are community-wide investments, and these would be the cost of funding economic development programs and projects, including but not limited to those projects herein. One of the recommendations within the downtown development plan is to extend the decorative lighting along High Street to South Street. And that's exactly what is being requested here. So at the time the committee met, they didn't realize, they didn't know that these funds could be used without having to amend the TIF district. So I think had they known that, they would have wanted to proceed with this entire project this year, because it just makes sense to do it all at once when the streets and sidewalks are going to be torn up. I did include, and I know it's hard to read because it's small, but the schematic or the preliminary design from Dirigo that shows roughly where the light would go, and there's some flexibility there. So my recommendation to you is that, if you recall, last year you had appropriated $50,000 to the downtown just because there wasn't a project. Well, you had been appropriating $125,000, $100,000 to $125,000 each year before that. My recommendation this year is that you appropriate at the time of commitment $150,000 to the TIF reserve. If you look at it, that you only took $50,000 last year, and over the 2-year period, it averages out to the $100,000 that you have been using. If you have that $150,000 with the nearly $50,000 that is currently sitting in the account and not being used, there would be enough money to do this whole project all at once from High Street down to the South Street area. And I know there was a possibility of adding a few more lights a little farther down towards Lake Avenue. So, or, you could just put in the light pole bases and the conductors and, finish that some other time. If we did that, I think it would be about $98,000. But my feeling is that if you're gonna do it all at once and get it done and not just have, because sometimes the bases, they get hit by snowplow and whatever if it's not finished. So I think it would be best to do the project and do it all at once. The committee members made a strong point that the money is meant to be spent for projects like this, and this TIF district does have a shelf life. I think it's 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. And if the money's not used, then it's money left on the table that could have been used for these projects. So that's where I'm coming from, and I think we should proceed on that basis.
Any questions?
Guess I'll start. Do you have the schematic so we actually could read what, so distancing between lights and all that? Because obviously you can't, it's so small
I think
here
it's
that
broken down in there, 90 feet, isn't it?
The manufacturer's recommendation, I'm told, is to have them 75 feet apart. And I thought in that area that was a little closer than needed to be, because there's other ambient light in that area. So I had, actually, the original cost we got was higher than this, but I had years ago place them 90 feet apart. And and like I said, these could be adjusted based on, whether they're on the corner or, whatever the best placement is. So again, this isn't a firm proposal. We probably want to look at what makes the best sense. And as I mentioned also, eventually, as a part of this, it's a 2-year project. In the second phase, from South Street out to Route 2, there's an island that goes along the big parking lot. It's a median, I guess you'd call it, it goes along the big parking lot of the technology center. You want to put a sidewalk along there, that's an area that really needs to have a sidewalk to keep people out of the parking lot. And put a few lights along there as well. So that's not included in this, but it should be. Otherwise, you gotta have the different controller for that and all that. So I haven't talked to Dirigo about that yet, but that would alter the cost a little bit to do that. But I think, again, that makes sense to do all that all at once. If we can do this with one controller, which I think they're proposing, rather than having 3 that we have down on Front Street. Front Street is a long run of many lights.
Okay, well, the reason I just asked is because obviously, the schematic I had, you can kind of see some of it. Obviously the manufacturer is saying 75 feet, but is that taking into account other ambient light in the area? And my question is, did Dirigo actually study the light in the area to actually determine whether we needed this many lights or not? I'm all for decorative lightings. I think it makes the downtown area look nice. I just don't want to throw a whole bunch of lights and then it looks like runway either. So.
Yeah, I don't think that would be we'd have to work with them a little closer and probably, go out and do some, I could actually have CMP look at it too, because they have folks that are, do the photometrics
right
as well, and to determine, what's the best place for them. I know this is, I apologize, this is hard to read, it's a CAD file that came across my computer, and, I can print it out an 11 by 17, but that still makes it hard to read.
You have to make it the size of this table.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, I'm fine with that approach on the lights. I mean, I think if we can spend the TIF dollars, then that's fine. I just was curious on that, but, and in the plan, are we going to buy the lights like we did on Front Street? Remember, the town actually purchased the lights, we bought them as, we were like the vendor and purchased them, right?
Yeah, we could do it that way. I think then it's a separate bid as far as, having someone install them and connect them. So what I'd like to do with this project, because it's a complex, multifaceted project, is just have the entire project put out to bid as a package, and the subcontractors, whoever, can purchase the lights and install them, and that takes the town pretty much out of the picture. I think it would be a lot easier that way.
Because I think last time we saved a substantial amount of money, didn't we?
Well, I guess we did.
Kind of
I don't
maybe,
remember
I
how
guess.
much, but we can look, certainly we can look into that again. Just one.
But maybe we did in the long run, because I don't know, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. As in, you buy it, and then the person's like, okay.
Yeah, but I can talk with Jerry about that. That's certainly something, whatever we can do to save money, of course, we will.
Okay.
But I guess the main thing with this, if we're gonna take this as an approach, is that I would have to get a commitment from the board right now. I mean, this has gotta go out to bid very soon. I'm not sure where the package is to go, but, April's coming up and construction season. So I'd have to get a commitment to appropriate that $150,000, which won't come, until August when you do the tax commitment. You have to agree to do that up front.
I would make that motion to appropriate the $150,000 necessary from the TIF account to complete the projected project.
I'll second that.
Motion and second to appropriate the $150,000, put it in the downtown TIF advisory, into the TIF account this year. Before I take any more questions or comments from the board, did you have a comment that you wanted to make?
So I just wanted to clear something up there to make sure I understood right. So the tip area that we have right now, are we changing that? Is that not being appropriated that way, Richard?
No, it doesn't. An amendment is not required to do these, extend these lights into the area that's adjacent to the TIF district, but it's not part of it. It's all related to it.
Okay.
And in fact, on High Street, there are some spotty areas that are in the district and others aren't, so it just kind of.
Yeah, when you look at the separation in there, it jumps all over the place. So we don't have to straighten that area out in order to be able to appropriate the funds?
No, and it's a good thing because that's what the committee suggested doing, but when you look at the process that it takes to go through that, we wouldn't be able to do this project this summer. It's probably going to take a year to get that amended in it because it has to be done by March 1st, which we've already passed.
So some of the areas that are not listed in the TIF thing, we're not having to worry about that, like some of UMF coming in underneath it and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's right. That's like that area of High Street.
Okay.
And part of the purpose of this is to tie the whole downtown together with similar lighting. And
Okay.
we've already planned to put granite curbing on the new sidewalks.
On the new side, okay. So then, is it going to be the lights? Front Street is a mess when you drive on it at nighttime because of the glare of so many lights. Is that going to be the same way on High Street, which is pretty bad anyhow, with the kids walking with their dark clothing and all that kind of stuff? There's no push buttons for them to cross and sidewalks and all over the place.
There will be on High Street. I think
There will be?
I think there are 2 of those raised crosswalks that are planned for High Street with
Okay.
the push button lighting.
Like we have by Dunkin' Donuts?
And I do hear complaints that it's dark along that area of High Street with students walking, so these lights, you know, on a scale that's more pedestrian scale, should help to with
To
safety.
brighten it up and everything.
Yeah.
And it is like a runaway effect on Front Street.
Yeah,
So I
I've heard-
guess I'm looking at the fact, hopefully, it's not gonna be the same thing down High Street.
No, I think they'll be, you know, more staggered. The part of and I've heard that about Front Street, I think part of the reason that it has that appearance is that it's a very dark stretch along down through there, a straight stretch that's not broken up by buildings and side streets
No.
and all of that. So it doesn't have the appearance of a lot of lights down through there.
Okay.
There are a lot, I think there are 27.
I think, yes.
Yeah, there are 27 I've got through there.
Any other questions about Mr. Fogg?
The town warrant authorizes us to spend money from a TIF account to do whatever we do,
Yes.
but you're increasing it from, it's gonna show somewhere, it came from 50 to 150.
That's a decision you make when it comes time to do the tax commitment. You could take up to $400,000, I think.
I understand, but that's where we're gonna see it again, is setting the tax rate.
That's right, that's exactly right.
Yep.
Yep.
That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure.
Any questions, comments, Josh?
And obviously, this won't tie our hands, so that if something comes up in August and we wanted to add to that.
That's right, or it may come back that this, you know, we need, instead of 150,000, you might need 160, maybe. You know.
Right, so we could add to it.
We'll have bids, and, yeah,
Just
exactly.
give us a base to
Yeah,
work
so
with.
that gives you that flexibility.
I was just reading in the highlights of the minutes, I was interested to see that, as usual, Fuel Masters chose not to contribute to.
Well, they,
To this.
you know, I had asked them if they could, and they're not in a position financially to do that.
Yeah.
So,
But I'm glad we can make that place look better. So. My only comments up. We're ready for a vote.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yay.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Okay, moving along to item number 9 is to approve a new road name, Leap Lane.
this is, you may have seen that Leap is building a new, I guess it's a training facility out on the Livermore Falls Road. They recently purchased 167 Livermore Falls Road and the lot adjacent to that property, which abuts Wilson Stream. And so they're gonna have the 2 buildings in there, so anytime you have more than one, you have to have, it has to have a physical address, a 911 address. So they had proposed a couple of names that were, you know, a little difficult, maybe lengthy. So I came back with Leap Lane, and they said that was acceptable. Daryl Wood, per email from Daryl Wood. Terry's out here, I don't know if he has anything to add, but they're okay with Leap Lane.
He's shaking his head no, so I'm assuming that's no.
It's a pretty good description.
Shield
of
off
what it
call
is.
all over.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I see that confusion of it.
Like building in the woods to the-
It took me a few minutes to figure it.
Between the
Yeah.
streams.
All right.
I hesitate to call Terry in, but maybe you can remember. When we did the Clover Mill, it couldn't be a road, it had, because it's dead end, be much the same as this. It either had to be a lane, or could it be a way? Is that
Is that
any
close,
difference?
Terry?
There's a bunch of different things. Plane's kind of consistent with what we have.
So it's just words.
Yeah,
But it does have to meet, those are state E911 deal.
yeah, there's guidelines that they have.
Guidelines.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the road name Leap Lane.
I'll second that.
Then a motion and a second to approve the new name, Leap Lane. So, ready for a vote.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yay.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
All right, thank you for that. I'm going to move along to item number 10, to adopt the proposed town of Farmington COVID-19 pandemic policy. Richard?
This policy has been worked on for weeks, and we've had legal input in it, so I think, and employee input. I think we've got it in a final form that is acceptable, and hopefully, we already have a pandemic policy, but this one is specific to the COVID-19. Hopefully, we won't need to have this policy in place too much longer if things all goes well and the virus is under control. But it does talk about leave time, when an employee should not report to work when they have any symptoms, when they should quarantine, all of those CDC guidelines, which now are changing somewhat. We've talks about travel outside the state, and those, I know those requirements are changing as well too. Things seem to be loosening up. We've got guidelines in here for when an employee can work from home, and not all employees are set up to work from home, but several of us administrative employees can work from home and do from time to time. So this policy just covers hopefully any foreseeable instance where dealing with employees and the COVID-19 pandemic. We encourage vaccinations, but don't require them.
Have a good night, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
As well.
I just had a quick thing.
Yep.
Could we, I mean, would there be anything just to make it a pandemic policy? So in other words, just thinking into the future, that hopefully, heaven forbid, we go down this road again, but.
COVID 20.
We already have a policy that's titled pandemic policy. I think it's pandemic and influenza policy. So this one, we made it specific to COVID-19. It might, at some point, it might become moot just because the disease is no longer. Hopefully that will be the case.
Be nice.
But this one is specific to processes for dealing with COVID-19. The other policy that we have had in place for years is more general. It's just what you do if there's a flu.
Okay.
That sort of thing.
All right.
I make a motion to adopt the proposed Town of Farmington COVID-19 pandemic policy.
And I'll second that.
Motion.
And you did say that you had input from the employees in developing this?
Yes, yeah, it was run by all of them, and most of them, there were only a few comments that we were able to incorporate.
Good. You mentioned vaccinations. What percentage of the employees have been vaccinated, or?
I don't know that. I know
Does that
all of
hit my
the,
question?
I think probably, Terry might know how many of the firefighters, of course, all of the first responders had priority, and I believe that most, if not all, of our police officers have had the vaccine, and Terry probably knows.
I think we had 15 people get vaccinated. Yeah, it's kind of a, don't ask, don't tell. We have, that's what I have for a list.
Yeah.
And the age groups, because they're opening up all the time too.
Right.
That's right.
So that'll make a big difference.
Yeah, it's not mandatory for anybody, but of course, I think what's happening is that as more and more people are seeing that it's safe and effective, the vaccine hesitancy is lessening maybe.
Nobody's dying when they get shots.
That's a plus.
Might feel for a minute or two.
Sore arm. Steve, did you have something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, get your shots.
Yes. This is true. All right, been a motion and a second to adopt the proposed Town of Farmington COVID-19 pandemic policy. Seeing no other questions, we're ready for a vote.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yay.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
Thank you for that. We'll move along to item number 11, to schedule a special town meeting for Tuesday, May 11th, 2021.
Well, I'm working on a warrant for this special town meeting, and I know it's going to be shortly after the referendum, but the reason I had it early in May was that we've talked about the solar net energy agreement, and they need to have approval to get that in place. They'd like to have that early in May, and that's so that we can potentially realize a huge savings on the town's electric bill. And you know, when I first saw it, I was skeptical, but it looks like, you know, the attorney reviewed the agreement. She said it's all good. We can save $140,000 on our electric bill.
We haven't done it yet?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's because it's a 20-year agreement, that's why it requires the town meeting approval.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But, yeah, we only spend about $180,000 on electricity for the year, so if we can save 3/4 of that, then it's certainly worth doing.
So it's a 20-year agreement at that rate?
That's, yeah, and that's why it requires a special town meeting. This is a big solar installation that's being built in Lewiston, I believe, and Lisbon is one town that's already signed on to do it.
So in the agreement, is there any do they have any flexibility of rate increase over the 20-year window of time?
No.
Unforeseeable, whatever.
No, I haven't seen any.
No.
These are the net energy credits that you're buying, and I think there's probably some subsidy from the state that makes this possible.
Sounds like a good deal.
Is that it? You won't ask too many questions.
Well,
To a point.
I would so move that we schedule a special town meeting for Tuesday, May 11th, 2021, to present the net energy.
Yeah, and there'll be a couple
There'll
of
be a few other
things.
things too.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Been a motion and a second to schedule a special town meeting for Tuesday, May 11th, 2021.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
Thank you for that. We'll move on to item number 12, to accept the resignation of Adrian Harris from the zoning board, unfortunately.
I don't think we should do that.
I don't think you tell him.
Who wants to step down?
So
Yeah.
moved.
I'll second that.
Been a motion accepted and a second to accept the resignation of Adrian Harris from the zoning board. My only comment to that is I'd like to thank him for, I don't think he was on it for a couple of years, and I'd like to thank him for his time
Yep.
to that.
I'll send him a nice letter.
Yeah.
Anyways, ready for a vote?
Mr. Smith?
Yay?
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
All right, move on to item number 13, is to approve the minutes of March 9th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve the minutes of March 9th, 2021.
Mr.
Comment?
Smith?
Yay?
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
All right, thank you for that. Move on to item number 14, is discuss other business. Richard?
I don't really have much, just a reminder that the next meeting will be on April 13th, and that's going to be the public hearing on the referendum questions. There might be a couple other public hearings too on zoning ordinance changes. So that's going to be at the community center at 6:30. So we'll probably do that upstairs in the gym,
Upstairs.
and hopefully we'll get a good turnout for the public hearing, particularly on the referendum, so that people know what they'll be voting on.
And they'll be able to call in with that too, right?
Yes, yeah, that'll be, yeah, I've talked, and I'll double check that with Channel 11 to be live streaming it. So.
Good.
That's at 6:30 also?
Yes. And you'll get a reminder, of course, before.
That's all for tonight?
Yep.
Sure. Steve?
Age qualification for vaccinations is coming down considerably, so 50 and older, so don't hesitate to get in. I volunteered on Monday. We did over 400 vaccinations, and as long as the supply keeps going, we're cranking them out, so
Fantastic.
citizens should not hesitate to get registered.
No, and that system over there is very, very efficient.
Yep.
So,
That's all I have, thanks.
You working tomorrow?
I am not, but I'll come and hold your hand.
Mike, you got anything?
Just the town meeting referendum, people will have got a town report, they would have gotten to look at the sample ballot. Johnny comes through the door, they check him that he's a resident, and he's gonna go over there and vote. Are we to be in attendance for that, or do we just come and vote and leave?
Well, no, I think that's the reason for the public hearing. You'll be in attendance at the public hearing. I'll try to get the budget committee there too. That will be the opportunity for people to ask questions and get answers.
Right.
When they come to the polls, they need to be prepared to just take the ballot, go in and mark the ballot and deposit it in the machine.
Well, I kind of envisioned that, but what I wasn't envisioning is the actual day you go to vote.
Yeah.
You would just, so I myself would go in, vote like everybody else and
Yeah.
see you later.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Okay, no, I just wanted a little, I don't know what to do, I need some guidance.
Well, it's different, but.
Steve said he will hand.
Yeah.
You get right.
Excuse me?
You all set?
Any other comments?
I did enough, that's.
Okay. Okay, we appreciate that. Josh?
The only thing I had was, it was more of just curiosity to make sure I had it right in my mind, was in the marijuana license, the transfer, because I wasn't here at that meeting. And
Yep.
I'm not opposed to it either way, but, or opposed to it. So in the ordinance, does it allow for a transfer from one licensee to pass it to another licensee?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yes, it does. I can answer that. Yeah.
So, like,
Both the ones
if
that I have.
your license, you could say, I want to pass it to,
Yes, it
Me
is
or
mine,
whatever.
we can do what, as long as we're in good standing. And, say if I want to sell my license to you, I'm able to do that, but you still have to go through the whole vetting process of coming into the town. And just because
Right,
you,
planning board.
right, you go through the whole process that everybody else has to go through. But these are our licenses to do with what we want.
okay.
But that doesn't mean, you still have to pass the
Well,
the
I
whole
didn't
vetting
ourselves
process.
approve it or what, and pass
Yep.
through the state and all that.
Yep.
But I just was curious on how that worked, so.
Yeah, no, it is worded in there that we can transfer.
Okay, that's what I had. Thank you.
Of course.
You've been working, so.
I've been working, so I do all kinds of things. I assume you got a phone call today from Travis Pond regarding the solar
Yes.
code and roads and enforcement and all that sort of thing.
The town, I've had a couple calls from the town of New Sharon. They are concerned because the ones that trucks are, when they're exiting Horn Hill Road, they're taking a right and going up through New Sharon. We have, in the town of Farmington, we have agreements with Wansec to allow them to travel over posted roads. They are responsible for any damages, which they are by law anyway. Well, they don't have that agreement with New Sharon, so they were concerned about that. And we had already spoken with the folks at Wanzak about that, and they understood that we didn't want them to go to New Sharon, and they were supposed to use our roads, which they're permitted to travel over by permit, by letter permit. Well, what happened, I think, was that the Chuck, I can't remember his last name, that we talked with at Wanzak, they've been very cooperative, by the way. He's no longer with them, he got transferred or whatever, so I think there was a miscommunication there, and their drivers didn't understand that they weren't supposed to go through New Sharon. So I talked with Phil. Travis was gonna send me an email tonight, which I'll forward it to the new person, whoever it is, and he's dealing with 4 or 5 people there. But again, they have been very cooperative. And I talked with Phil about it, because Phil's talked with them as well. Travis asked about getting some signs put down at the end of the road that said, turn left, no right turn, or something to that effect. And I talked with Phil, and I think we can do that too, put something up on sawhorses.
Good.
So that would take care of that. But yeah, I thought we were all set with that last week, but apparently,
Not.
yeah. But we'll get it taken care of.
Yeah.
But there is easy care for that, though.
Yeah. And,
They're stopping them. They said the state troopers were stopping them.
If they start paying some fines, they will reroute the
They will
roads, I
remember.
guarantee it.
And next Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going into session, and what's going to happen is the Democrats are going to force through a budget, a biennial budget, a basic budget with no frills, because of the extremely long night we spent down on the supplemental budget with no cooperation. So that we'd like to have a two-third majority, a two-third budget, but it's not gonna happen. And so it's gonna, the whole idea is to get it done before July 4th, so we're not facing a shutdown if the legislature is in there arguing amongst themselves about the budget. And the governor is we're going to go in 1 or 2 days and then adjourn. And the governor has promised she's gonna call us right back in to finish our work and complete the work for the year and work on the supplemental budget with the things that are gonna be fought over. So it's gonna be interesting. It may be maybe another couple 6 o'clock in the morning nights, but anything can happen. But it's too bad to have to go that way. They haven't pushed the majority anything, but the thing with a two-thirds budget, it can go into effect right off quick, and that's what we've always worked to, right up to the deadline. But this gives you 3 or 90 days leeway by doing the majority budget, so I don't think it's the ideal way to do it, but it's all politics.
So you guys wouldn't argue down there over budget, would you?
You know, it's funny, most of the rank and file agree pretty much, but, you know, they got leadership down there, if you want to call it that.
Really? Okay then, we'll give that one away. You all set it up?
That's enough.
Next Monday, right?
Yes.
The only thing I've got is just, hope we're all enjoying this week, because I think next week, we're gonna get hot and winter again for a couple days and
A little bit.
Sample run again.
it's all right. Little fertilizer fall from the sky, that's all it
It
is.
is dry though. We do need some
And very much so.
moisture.
So I'm back on the river again already, so that didn't take long.
Yeah.
But that's all I've got. So, your motion to adjourn?
So made.
Second.
Then a motion to second to adjourn? We're ready for a roll call?
Okay, Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Bunker?
Yay.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yay.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
Thank you. Have a good couple weeks.